The Checks was a little bit of a confusing episode, I will say. More so because there was a lot of storylines. I felt like everyone had, like, multiple stories going on in this episode. It was a little confusing to follow along with. The main story, though, was, I guess, Jerry was appearing at had like a 1-second clip at the beginning of this super terrific happy hour show or something like that was played on Japanese television. And he was getting these royalty checks for like 12 cents each from them. And he got like hundreds of them. The problem, though, was they were coming in so fast, he was trying to sign the checks to be able to cash them all in. Because of how many checks he was signing, he was getting writer's cramp in his hand. Which, of course, led to, other problems down the line in the episode. Not only that, but we had Kramer befriending these Japanese tourists. And from all that, and from Jerry's, recent television success, they try to pitch their Jerry pilot to Japanese television. See if they could sell it there since it didn't succeed here in America. And then Elaine and her boyfriend and the whole Desperado thing, which, that was funny, the whole Desperado thing. But, then him and Jerry didn't get along, and then Jerry had this thing. I said, it was an umbrella. Like I said, we'll talk about it, but like I said, it was a little bit of a confusing episode to follow along with, for sure. Everybody felt like they had, like, multiple things going on, and a lot of stuff was, like, combining together. So, like I said, the story here, again, is, besides Jerry with the checks, Elaine was dating this guy named Brett, who was a huge fan of Farman, where is it? Oh, yeah, Kyle Farman, furniture. He was a salesman, but he was obsessed with Kyle Farman. And he was going to be, trying to, give people good deals on furniture. Also, whenever the song Desperado came on the radio, it's like he was, like, hypnotized. It's like, he would tell Elaine, stop. He was, like, hypnotized and obsessed, which drove Elaine nuts. Of course, Jerry instantly was not getting a good vibe from this guy. As a guy came across as kind of very stuck up, he insulted Jerry several times throughout the episode, which showed that they weren't going to get along. And, of course, at the end, it didn't lead to good things for Brett either. But Brett, of course, was going to get Kramer a good deal on this furniture. This new chest and drawers. He was going to get him. While out on the streets, Jerry notices an umbrella salesman was, like, twirling an umbrella, and Jerry claims that he came up with that twirl when he once sold umbrellas with this guy named Ted, I believe it is. And of course, he was trying to take credit for the twirl, but the guy mentioned that this guy Ted was the one who came up with the twirl instead, which of course was the salesman who Jerry had worked with. And of course, word got around with that, and Ted, being holding a grudge apparently against Jerry for many years for leaving him to be a comedian, was kind of like him holding like a grudge against him, which would cause his checks to nearly be ruined. Towards the end of the episode. But, Elaine's, struggling with the whole Desperado thing. Kramer, though, is loving the drawers. And he's having a great time with these Japanese tourists doing all these things. Like, he's showing them around Manhattan and everything. Of course, they end up, throwing out all their money, and they weren't able to afford their hotel anymore. So they ended up sleeping at Kramer's. And where did Kramer put them to sleep in? The drawers. That big chest of drawers had 3 big drawers in them. They were like 6 feet long, but like 1.5 feet height. So they slept in the drawers. George, meanwhile, though, before this whole Japanese television thing happens, he, I guess, had these carpet cleaners come in to clean his carpets. But he finds out that there's this big religious cult who tried to abduct people to join their cult. George, fascinated by this, wants to see if they actually try to, capture him. When they come to clean his carpets for just $25, they don't capture him. And he just obsesses over the fact that they did try to abduct him. But yet later in the episode, they abducted Wilhelm instead, whenever they came to do some carpet cleaning with the Yankees. But then, of course, the idea comes up that, since Jerry is a big hit in Japan due to that 1 second clip, they pitched the idea of, how about, sending the Jerry pilot to show to Japanese television to see if that can get bought by Japanese television, and they could, basically write their pilot through Japan. Well, of course, George knows some people who do stuff with NBC for American baseball in Japan, but they weren't that impressed. But then, on a day when it was raining, and George was supposed to help give his Japanese friends a tour of Yankee Stadium, instead, since it was raining, he showed them the pilot. And they loved it, and they were agreed to go into Japanese television and put in a good word for Jerry. Meanwhile, of course, again, Jerry's hands cramping, and then on the day of that rainy day, he went to go cash the checks, but it was raining so bad. But then when he goes to try to buy an umbrella, that Ted guy who he had worked with years ago, he got into an argument first, about him taking credit for the twirl, and then saying how he's held a grudge against Jerry all these years for leaving him to be a comedian, and he was going to give Jerry an umbrella for $200. And then, of course, Jerry saw Brett on the street. Earlier in the episode, Brett basically insulted Jerry because he didn't have a fax machine, or he had a cheap-looking desk, and, basically, they just didn't get along right away. And he basically insulted Jerry about, not having an umbrella. So, that was even good there. And then Elaine also was tired of getting shushed to Desperado. She was trying to find a song for the two of them. She pitched Brett Witchy Woman, didn't like it. He didn't want to share Desperado, and again, he shushed Elaine again to Desperado when it came on. So again, all over the place mess with this. So meanwhile, of course, then the big blow came for all these stories. Whenever at the end of the episode, the night before, George had, of course, seen Kramer partying with his Japanese friends in his hot tub. I didn't realize he still had that hot tub. And the next day, they were supposed to go with Jerry and George to meet with those Japanese executives about getting what's it called? The pilot signed by Japanese television. What happened was Kramer let them sleep in. And he was heading to the airport to get their tickets refunded so they can have money. Food money. But of course, George panics and calls Jerry to go wake up the Japanese tourists. Jerry just got done signing another check, and his hand was just killing him. So he said, I'll go and wake them up. Meanwhile, over at Kramer's apartment, the Japanese men are banging on the drawers saying, get us out of here. We need help. Mr. Jerry, get us out of here. So Jerry, though, was trying to pull open the drawers. The problem was, one, he only used one hand because his other hand was so swelled up from all the signing of the checks. And the other problem was the steam of the hot tub had warped the wood. So it was harder to open up the drawers. So Jerry basically went nuts, and he went over to grab an axe. And he was going to start, banging open breaking open the drawers to get the men out of there. Well, at the same time, Brett and Elaine were coming up, and Brett was going to give Jerry an umbrella as an apology gift for how he's treated him and whatnot. But then he hears a noise, and Jerry's about saying, move to the back of the drawer, and then Jerry's about to start swinging the axe, and then Brett runs in and goes, not the fireman! And then I guess Jerry accidentally hits Brett in the head with the axe. Well, the wood part, not the actual axe itself. So then, of course, they do get the Japanese tourists to NBC, but of course they're talking in Japanese, and George doesn't understand what they're saying, basically how they're saying Jerry's a dangerous man and how he was swinging an axe like a wild man and whatnot, which obviously ends the whole TV deal. Meanwhile, that carpet cleaning company was there, and they had abducted Wilhelm, and he had some new name now, and there was some weird exchange between George and Wilhelm, and then the NBC executive said some Japanese, with these two losers. I don't know how the Yankees won the World Series, which apparently that was shot twice because at the time they weren't sure the Yankees were going to win the World Series or not, which I think they were in position to, but they had said, they recorded twice to have two different versions just in case. But of course, I don't think they had shown, the alternate version on the deleted scenes on the DVD. And then the final closing credits, they had Jerry, Elaine, and Brett in Jerry's apartment, put an ice pack on Brett's head, and he was apologizing for it. And then, of course, Brett couldn't remember the name of the brand that he got the chest from. And then Elaine and Jerry start saying Desperado to Brett, and then Brett just plunked his head over. Obviously, he was knocked out. So then the last scene, he's in they have Brett in the ambulance, and they said he has a pulse, just a minor concussion. We can see him do about reducing the swelling. But then the doctor hears witchy woman, and he gets distracted, and basically you hear the rest of the background, doctor, we're losing him, but he was just hypnotized by witchy woman. And the way the heart monitor went fast, I guess they implied Brett died, which if that's the case, then kind of killed it a little bit. I mean, yes, I get what they were going for, but at the same time, it's like, I don't think that was a good job at trying to make a death funny. That kind of hurt it a little bit for me at the end of that episode. How they have him just die because a doctor got distracted. So that was a little bit odd. But yeah, that's the checks. Like I said, the final lines were recorded twice. One for if the Yankees won the World Series or if they lost it. George Wallace, also, who is the doctor who examined Brett in that last scene, is also a stand-up comedian, and he actually ended up being the best man at Jerry's wedding in real life. Let me see here. There's a scene, of course, I think where Jerry is denied the purchase of the umbrella on the street by his former colleagues, and you see a man wearing an urban sombrero, in which that man, I believe, is actually writer Tom Gamble as well. There was a line also that George says before showing the pilot prior to the Japanese, saying how that in America, all you see when you turn on the TV is four morons sitting around at an apartment whining about their dates, which of course was a jab at Seinfeld itself, the show. And then I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, kind of a confusing episode. Like I said, there was everybody had like multiple stories. Like again, Jerry had the checks. Him and Brett didn't get along. The TV pilot. Kramer had the Japanese tourists. And he was getting somewhat involved with the whole pilot thing. George had the carpet cleaning company and the pilot. Elaine with mostly just had one story, but like I said, a little confusing of an episode, I would say. Very, a little mixed feelings about this episode. The next episode, though, I believe is the Chicken Rooster. That one is actually one of my favorites. Let me double check. I believe that is the next one. Let me double check. Wait for this to load. Come on. Wait for us to load here. It's almost to the top of the page. Yes, next indeed is the Chicken Rooster. Probably my favorite episode on this disc, I would say. We'll see you guys next time, though, in the Chicken Rooster episode. So, guys, what are your thoughts on the Checks episode? Do you agree that it was definitely one of the more confusing episodes of Seinfeld, for sure? Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe or contact my channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandAirBrody3. I'll be back here later for some more content. I have to head to a softball game now. So, until guys, I'll catch you all later. Have a great rest of your day. And peace out, everybody.